This program was made possible in part by funding from the Dow Chemical Company Foundation, a proud supporter of quality education across Louisiana in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting.
Hello and welcome to Louisiana Public Square. I'm Beth Courtney, President of Louisiana Public Broadcasting.
And I'm Shauna Sanford, news anchor for LPB. Tonight we're pleased to be coming to you from the beautiful new Performing Arts Center at the Math, Science, and Arts Academy in Plaquemine. The facility is part of a $15 million facelift that illustrates this community's commitment to educating its students in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. Known by the acronym of STEM, these subjects truly form the foundation of blossoming career opportunities in Louisiana.
But many of these job openings are currently being left unfilled due to a lack of qualified candidates. How well is the state preparing our citizens for STEM careers? How well are our educators trained to teach the STEM subjects? And how can students, especially women, become more engaged in STEM fields? Over the next hour, we'll explore these issues and more. But first, let's take a look at Louisiana's STEM status.
Currently, we're working on an anti-bullying video for the school board.
I'm designing a website for University Elementary School, another school in our parish.
When you click on the blue dots, it tells you who was buried there, it tells you their history, what they're known for.
These students attending Shreveport Southwood High School have been getting a hands-on experience in the science, technology, engineering, and math fields for the last year. The courses use what's called the EAST approach, a self-directed exploration of STEM careers.
I don't really teach in this class. I facilitate their learning. In other words, I facilitate them teaching themselves.
Lloyd Rushing says students develop projects that serve their community while receiving real-life experience in areas such as video editing, architecture, animation design, and the use of geographical information systems.
This class allows them to come and open up a toolbox to say, here's a toolbox full of great tools that all relate to STEM. Take each tool out, find which one that you really like, and let's concentrate on learning that particular tool.
The EAST program is one of several initiatives that Caddo Parish instituted in the 90s after the loss of manufacturing jobs. For the last 10 years, STEM jobs have been growing nationally at 3 times the rate of non-STEM occupations. The state will need to fill 69,000 STEM-related jobs by 2018. Although the work here is plentiful, in Louisiana, there are nearly 3 STEM job openings for every unemployed worker.
We're in a situation in Louisiana where I really consider it a blessing in disguise in that we have more job opportunities in the STEM field than we have citizens who are prepared for those jobs. And our challenge right now is to ensure that we meet the short-term and long-term demand of business and industry.
Bryan Moore is the Director of Workforce Development for Louisiana's Workforce Commission. Moore says bridging the STEM skills gap involves working with industry to provide customized training in the short term, while working with educators in the long term.
90% of the STEM-related occupations in our state require an associate's degree or better. And so it's very important to work closely with the universities to make sure that we're responding to the needs of business and that they're creating curriculum that is consistent with the demand in business and industry.
9% of bachelor's degrees awarded in Louisiana are in the STEM fields. That's very close to the national average. But not all STEM careers require a 4-year degree. In fact, a recent Brookings Institution report found that half of all STEM jobs require no bachelor's degree. The study ranked Baton Rouge first nationally for these types of opportunities, with many of them tied to the petrochemical industry and construction trades.
When we go back and look at where we put our dollars over the last several years, is very heavily in programs that are supporting math, sciences, also allied health technologies, engineering technologies, particularly those affiliated with the oil and gas industry, as well as the chemical and processing industries.
Dr. Joe May is president of Louisiana's Technical and Community College System. He says the system has added over 200 new programs that focus on STEM skills. Legislation passed this year will provide over $280 million in state and industry funding for 29 community college expansion projects. Nearly half will be located in rural parts of the state.
As you look at the program list, you're going to see in the title a STEM facility at Bossier Parish Community College, allied health facility at Sowella Technical Community College, other science and mathematics and general education classrooms that are really built to support the types of careers that we see today in Louisiana.
Ken Bradford with Louisiana's Department of Education says the agency is considering consolidating the 3 diploma choices for high school students into one. The single diploma would offer either a track to college or a track towards a career.
We want to strengthen that career diploma so that when a student graduates from high school, they're going to have an industry credential in the STEM areas so that they can be employable upon graduation.
Louisiana recently adopted rigorous Common Core standards for mathematics, but hasn't committed to adopting the next generation science standards. Research shows that Louisiana educators still lag behind the nation in knowledge and training in the STEM fields.
We believe that teachers are the key to systemic and sustainable change.
G.B. Kaz is vice president of the Cyber Innovation Center in Bossier City. Built to diversify the area's economic base through the worlds of computers, the center has also developed professional development strategies to better prepare educators to train tomorrow's workforce. Known as the National Integrated Cyber Education Research Center, or NICERC for short, its programs are offered to teachers statewide.
We work with teachers and provide mentoring relationships, provide them materials and resources, and create a network of teachers on these new frontiers, if you will, and on these new ways to learn.
Guided by the staff at Louisiana Tech University, teachers in NICERC's Cyber Discovery program learn how to engage students in STEM subjects by using robotics. Julie Malone teaches science at North Caddo Magnet School.
Engineering part, they have to build the robot, they have to design it. The mathematics, you have to understand, distance. If I want it to go this distance, how do I need to code that to make it go that distance? And then technology, they're using computers. They use computers all the time.
Industries like Dow Chemical Company and ExxonMobil are also providing classroom resources and sponsoring teachers for professional development. Laura Lee Cephalu teaches science at Glasgow Middle School in Baton Rouge. She attended the Sally Ride Science Academy in California on the industry's dime. She also received their support when organizing her school's STEM Family Night to promote careers in science and math.
It was a big success, a lot of work, but the kids loved it. And it sparked a bunch of interest that a textbook cannot do. And it was free. The good thing, it was free.
I think girls don't go into science because once they hit hard, they give up. They don't want to do it no more.
Alexis Johnson is an 8th grader at Glasgow Middle School who now plans on becoming a nurse. Cephalu says Alexis's interest and confidence have increased since STEM night.
I still think it's hard, but I still could see myself doing it because now I'm more into science.
Regional robotics competitions and programs such as Barksdale's STARBASE Louisiana are other ways the state is trying to ignite students' passion in STEM and its out-of-this-world career opportunities.
It was definitely a rush on the moment of landing to see everything that we'd worked so hard on for the last, anywhere from 7 to 10 years, all execute so flawlessly right down to the surface of Mars.
Keith Como is a Louisiana native, LSU graduate, and the flight director of NASA's Curiosity rover that landed on Mars. He says not even the sky is the limit in the world of science.
Students should get energized about science because science is our future. Science drives a lot of the economic developments that we see, but it also drives our curiosity. I think humans' nature is to explore, and I think science is one way we can do that.
Well, talk about enthusiasm for science. That landing was really exciting. We'd like to thank Caddo Parish School District and many others for helping coordinate several of those interviews. And before we go to our audience here at the school, I'd like to introduce our panel this evening. Ken Bradford is Assistant Superintendent with Louisiana Department of Education's Office of Content. Stacey Chiasson is former high school business teacher who now heads the Public Affairs Department for the Dow Chemical Company in Louisiana. Dr. Isiah Warner is a Boyd Professor of Chemistry at LSU, and due in large part to his recruiting efforts, LSU ranks first nationally for producing African-American Ph.D.s in chemistry. Kathy Cox Boniel is coordinator of the Achieve program in Lincoln Parish Schools. A science teacher for 17 years, Ms. Boniel has directed STEM initiatives at the university and high school levels. And Kurt Eising is the executive director of Louisiana's Workforce Commission, a position he's held since 2008. His agency works as the matchmaker for Louisiana's employees and employers. And Sean, I think you have an opening question.
Thank you so very much. Thank you to our panelists for being here tonight and to our audience. And I know that everybody is excited and ready to go. So I'm going to begin with a question for our panelists. This is for each of you. We just saw in that package there that the demand is great, that the jobs are plentiful when it comes to careers in the STEM areas right here in Louisiana. But is this state really doing an adequate job of preparing students, many of the students who are here tonight and others, and those in the workforce to really meet that demand? And Kurt, we'll start with you.
It's a great question to start with. I think that gets to the heart of the issue right off the bat. The key thing is that these jobs are evolving. So our system that develops people for these jobs has to evolve too. So there's a number of things we're doing as a state. One is we're doing a really ramped up version of occupational forecasting. It's forecasting on steroids. That looks short term through 2014, long term through 2020. And we've also done a special study on the construction jobs that were mentioned in that segment. We have a booming industrial construction industry that's going to be taking off very soon. It's going to last for a number of years. Once we know what that demand is, we've been working very closely with our education and training institutions, the Department of Education and Ken, particularly the community and technical college system, but most importantly with business and industry to understand exactly what those occupations are, exactly the skill sets that are required for those occupations, and then building that into the framework that's available to people really starting July. First week in July, the first classes from this special initiative will ramp up, and they're targeted at those industrial construction jobs. But that's a model that we put together in the last 2.5 months, everybody working together to respond very quickly to this really burgeoning field.
I'm very encouraged by what I'm seeing in Louisiana because we have a network of science leaders throughout the state that are working diligently to create a network of resources, both informal and formal, that can support the education process and bring a real authenticity to the classroom beyond just learning the content and dealing with the standards that are mandated by the State Department. We're bringing in those resources that really bring it to the forefront, get the kids excited. And that's what it's going to take. We need to turn them onto it early, and they become empowered and they believe in what they can do and they see the windows open to their future. It's all about a mindset and getting those resources in there that can empower the teachers to do that.
Dr. Warner?
Well, I hate to be the naysayer here, but I think the very fact that you have 3 STEM jobs to every unemployed person suggests that we're not doing what we should be doing. I think we can do a much better job preparing our students for the STEM field. I think that, for example, there quite often even counselors will transfer their own fears to students and tell students that, oh, you don't want to take that tough subject. We need to tell our students more often, you need to take that tough subject because that's where the jobs are. And I think we're not doing as nearly as good a job as we should be doing in that area.
Dow is fortunate in that we have 6 sites across the state, all the way from Sterlington, Louisiana, down to St. Charles Parish. And so we do get to partner with a lot of different folks around the state. And what we're seeing is there are pockets of excellence. There are great things going on at LSU and Tech. And there are great things going on right here at the Math and Science Academy in Iberville Parish. What we're seeing when we can't fill a job in the STEM field is that there's just simply not enough young people coming out of these degree programs. So I think the key is to get more young people excited and understand the opportunities that are going to exist for them right here at home. I mean, the data shows how well these jobs pay, and it doesn't have to be for a young person just with a 4-year degree. You know, we hire 6,000 people in this state, and we hire a lot of engineers, but to be honest with you, the backbone of our facilities are 2-year degreed STEM professionals.
You know, as we speak, Superintendent White is out on a 2-week tour right now, and what we're doing is we are talking about the 3 diplomas that a student in Louisiana can get right now. There is currently a career diploma, there is a basic diploma, and then there's a Core 4 college track diploma. And, you know, in the initial segment that we saw, they alluded to that Louisiana, there is this demand right now, and we're ranked first in the nation in metropolitan areas in Baton Rouge, and New Orleans is ranked number 3 for STEM jobs that do not require a bachelor's degree. Mm-hmm. And so with these 3 diploma pathways right now, with 32,000 students, 32,000 plus students that graduate each year in Louisiana, there was 170 that earned a career diploma this year. And that, with a career diploma, we're going around the state, and what we'd like to do is strengthen that option so that a student who is on a career diploma pathway, they take 2 years of rigorous academic coursework, and then the last 2 years, they will start working towards an industry-based credential to help meet this need. And it will be an industry-based credential that's aligned to high-wage, high-demand jobs. And we've been working with Kurt and Workforce Investment Council and Workforce Commission, and we're going around the state and we're seeking input on that now. And so there's also going to be accountability associated with that. Just like we reward students in the system right now in schools for students that take rigorous coursework, there's also going to be rewards in the system for students that come out of high school who graduate with an industry-based credential.
I'm Kathy Brandon, and I'm the director of the STARBASE Louisiana program at Barksdale Air Force Base. My question is, the Department of Defense STARBASE program in Louisiana provides 25 concentrated hours of STEM content and application to over 4,000 students a year. The current administration plans an across-the-board elimination of federally funded STEM programs, even those with a proven track record of success, in an effort to reorganize and streamline resources. If STARBASE funding is not restored, this valuable resource in our state will be closed. Is there a mechanism available, either in education, business, or industry, that could sustain a successful program like STARBASE if federal funding is lost?
Well, that's a tough one. Who would like to try that? All right?
I'll take that. You know, I don't know how diversified your funding is. I don't know if you're completely funded by federal funds. That's correct? You're completely funded by federal funds. You know, I think it is extremely important, and it's Dow's philosophy, to have a public-private funding mechanism to sustain these things. We have a vested interest in those people that you're training, so we want to invest in that financially and with human resources as volunteers. Our state has to, you know, engage in that. I'll give you an example of that public-private funding mechanism is the new technical college right here in Iberville Parish. The state dedicated a little over $3 million to get the project done. It was going to be a $4 million project. So Dow contributed that additional $1 million to make that happen. And so I think we do. If we're going to make this happen, it can't be one person. It can't just be education. It can't be the state. It can't be business and industry. But I think as a partnership, we can sustain these things that have great track records.
Anybody else want to chime in? Ken, is there any response then at the state level?
I'd just like to say that one of the things the department is doing is, in the area of funding, is that it used to be that school systems would have to apply for their funding in, you know, they would have 25 different pots of funds, and they would have to apply, in theory, almost 25 different times. And what we've done is we've worked to consolidate all of that funding into one unified application. And we've worked to provide flexibility with the districts. And what it's, you know, so in this case, you know, working with the school systems, you know, you could partner with them and look to see if there's an identifiable funding source, because it sounds like what's occurring is very positive, and I'm sure that school districts would be very ambitious to want to participate in something like this.
I don't know specifically the issue in a high school, but in many of our community and technical colleges who are supplying the people for the greatest gap in our workforce, they're developing tremendous public-private partnerships, and they're also, to some degree, developing partnerships with high schools and with universities to bridge this gap. So If you look at Delgado, for instance, Delgado has a tremendous amount of private dollars coming into that university, either as matches or in other ways, in kind, providing facilities. Campuses across the state are doing that same thing. BRCC is doing a lot of that. The key is working with the people who are ultimately going to hire those students and showing value. And you tell me from an employer perspective, if a program is providing value, if it's actually producing people who can meet the demand by skills, then there's going to be a vested interest in everybody participating in that partnership. And we're seeing a growing number of success stories just like that across the state. And I think high schools are participating in that too.
Thank you, and thank you so much. Over to you, Shauna.
Thank you so much. Stacey, I think you mentioned earlier that there are pockets of success out there, and Louisiana Tech is certainly having a lot of success. And we have someone here from the school. Give us your name, tell us what you're doing there.
I'm Allie, Deleo, the Student Success Specialist for the College of Engineering and Science at Louisiana Tech. At Louisiana Tech, we immediately involve our freshmen in hands-on projects. They actually build their own lab that's portable, and they're responsible to bring to each class. We see this as a major role in our retention and in our recruiting. And I'd like to ask either Stacey or Kathy to voice their opinion about our approach.
I know that Louisiana Tech has been a very vital partner for Lincoln Parish Schools, as it has been for lots of other systems along the I-20 corridor. And it's been amazing to watch the game changer that has been the result of their involvement. And I will specifically cite the NASA Threads grant that we got in partnership with Louisiana Tech, which basically brought that freshman class to Ruston High School's campus, where our students suddenly were taking college-level classes on the Ruston High campus, and their mindset changed about what they were able to do, and it opened up an entire new world to them. And I look at this very past year when we had our first Echo Car team that went to nationals along with Louisiana Tech and ended up doing incredible things that no one anticipated, and now those kids are going right into engineering. They see themselves differently, and that to me is what the difference is with a program like Louisiana Tech, because it helps change the mindset. And I think we're going to have to change the mindset across the board in Louisiana if we're going to achieve what it is that we need to, not only in the classroom, but in the partnerships as well as the general public, understanding the changes that need to take place. I see what Louisiana Tech does as a model for other partners to follow, and I can't speak highly enough about it.
Yeah, I got to meet Allie when I went up last summer, so good to see you, Allie. I was so impressed with what y'all were doing, and what impressed me the most was the hand-holding that Tech did with these young people, the students, to not only engage them, but to keep them engaged. And what were their roadblocks? I mean, you really have put your money where your mouth is, because, you know, they've hired people like you to do that. I was very impressed, even as an old school teacher, when we would go to professional development or staff development, the teachers would go, right? You are taking the teacher and the students, and they're doing the professional development together. That's a game changer. Very impressive. I've seen some things on LSU's website where they're trying to do that. That's going to bring it home, and that student is going to hold that teacher accountable if they don't bring that back to the classroom, and I think that's pretty cool.
Not only are there some things going on at LSU, there are lots of great things going on at LSU. We mentioned earlier about the progress in chemistry, where we're the #1 graduate of African-American PhDs in chemistry. Well, we're also one of the top undergraduate programs in the country in terms of LaSTEM. We have a LaSTEM scholarship program, which is funded by the National Science Foundation. And we have a group of those students out here right now who can speak to the program. These students are coming into our program, and they're going on and getting PhDs at MIT, Michigan, Georgia Tech, the top schools in the country. And it's a diverse population of students. In fact, the population of that group is roughly representative of the state. It's about 35% African American, 8% Hispanic, 50% majority students. And so we have a group that's representative of the state that's doing an outstanding job.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Allie. Beth?
One of the things we talk about in Louisiana is we have access to TOPS money, to allow many students to go to school. And we have some folks here from LASFA, but we have a very special questioner here. Please tell us your name and your question.
Hi, my name is Nyetta Meaux. I'm the College Access Challenge Grant Director for the Louisiana Office of Student Financial Assistance. One of my tasks is to ensure that we're affording students equity of access to college and career information. As you may know, LASFA coordinates the Louisiana Connect portal, which is the state's premier portal for college and career information for students in grades 8 through 12. We have a strong partnership with the Department of Education, which led to the launch of the TOPS Tracker, as well as the Louisiana Workforce Commission with the launch of the Star Jobs tool. So my question to the other members of the panel is, how can we partner with your organization in order to provide more opportunities for students in the Louisiana Connect portal?
All right, well, let's hear. Maybe Kathy?
I'll be glad to start that. I think you're going to find fertile ground for the connection that you're looking for, because more and more of our students are looking for that authentic connection themselves. I'm looking specifically at our new tech school that we've opened in Lincoln Parish. Every student will have to job shadow a minimum of 2 times their junior year. They will intern their senior year, which means they need to do their homework on what they're interested in prior to that. We are looking at career coaches. We've got a career center on the Ruston High campus. We're looking to equip these young people to make the best informed decision that they can. Your type of outlet and information base is going to be critical, and it's going to help, because so many of our young people will be making these decisions based on with little adult supervision from home, if we will, because they may be the first one in their family that's actually going to go beyond that high school diploma. And so we're going to need every resource possible to connect them with the opportunities out there, because these kids are seeing themselves as able to, they just need to know how to. And so that's how you're going to connect with these high schools, through the career centers, the career coaches, and the guidance counselors, as well as the innovative programs like New Tech.
So the students themselves will be able to go online and they'll be able to see the courses they need to be taking and the direction. Anybody else want?
There's a greater benefit than that to Louisiana Connect or any kind of similar tool. And this is the tool that puts employers in the driver's seat of solving their own workforce needs. An employer like Dow or somebody else can go through that tool and start communicating with students as early as the 8th grade with permissions and so forth, validated through LASFA. But they can start communicating directly with those students and tell them, we need a student with a particular set of skills to do a particular job, and we're going to pay this much for it. So if you take this particular pathway, you're exactly the kind of kid we're going to want to hire. I think that's very powerful.
I wear 2 hats. One that says Boyd Professor, that's my favorite title. But I also wear Vice Chancellor of Strategic Initiatives. And in that office, we've done a lot of proactive things in working with the local community. In particular, with 100 Black Men, we've started working with that group, and we're working with parents, because parents is where it all should start. Getting parents to recognize that Louisiana Connect and all of those efforts are available for their kids. Once you get the parents sold on this, then the kids will come along, because the parents are going to force them to come along. We have a second program that we're working in the summer through Gear Up, where we're working with these students, we're working with them with their ACT scores, we're working with these students to show them how to connect with Louisiana Connect, and doing all of the things that are necessary to take advantages of efforts in the STEM field.
And Beth, I would just like to further add one of the other features of the LA Connect portal that's very beneficial to students, parents, schools, counselors, the business community, is the fact that every student starting in the 8th grade takes the Explore test, and that kind of guides them on which direction they might want to head down in a career path. But they do an individual graduation plan in this system, and they start mapping out their pathway for the next 4 years that they're going to be in high school. And they sit down and they work with the counselor, the parent, the principal, and they submit this individual graduation plan up into the system, and it's tracked. And if the kid as early as the 8th grade decides, I'd like to be an airline pilot, well, this system will help them map out the course sequences that they need. And along the way, it's also telling them, look, if you want to use your top scholarship and go to a Louisiana Tech, well, it's going to tell you along the way, hey, look, you're missing this course. The red flag will go up.
Well, thank you very much. Shauna, over to you.
Thank you. Well, the research indicates that the two greatest resources that remain untapped when it comes to STEM careers are minorities and women. And I've heard you all talk so much about the need to get students excited about STEM careers, excited about science and engineering and math. And with me now is Diane, who's with the Society of Women Engineers, and you're very passionate about this.
Yes, I am. My name is Diane Doise. I'm a native Louisiana and a chemical engineer. I believe that I'm here today because I believe that engineering is an amazing career for all girls. I am a member of the Society of Women Engineers. As part of the Society of Women Engineers outreach locally here, I coach a all-girls first Lego League robotics team with the Girl Scouts. And one of the things that I have noticed is that even with all the outreach that we are doing, still only 30% of participants in robotics programs are girls, and overall, only about 10% of engineers are women. So a lot of research has been done and a lot of theories made about why is this? And research has shown that girls as young as 6 are prone to subconscious bias that can hurt their math ability. What is being done in Louisiana to address this issue and educate teachers, the girls themselves, parents, and the public about this bias?
We don't have I don't know the word for it, but it's not a luxury, but we don't have the luxury to ignore any group of people from our education and training system if we're going to meet the demand, not just for STEM fields, but for all the other jobs out there too, which are also very important for the health and the vitality of our communities. There is not one group. You know, in Louisiana, we have maybe 600,000 adults who don't even have a GED. So they're not really contributing very much to their own livelihood, let alone the well-being of their communities. They don't have the capacity to do that very often. We have to get them back into the workforce. Many of those people are women. High school kids who don't know what they want to do, we have to make sure through tools like Louisiana Connect and Louisiana Star Jobs and career coaching and all these mechanisms available to us that they understand the full breadth of opportunities. I think one of the things that would be really beneficial, you speak about diversity, industry understands the value of diversity completely. Companies come to Louisiana and one of their chief goals is diversity in the workforce that we're able to provide as a state. They want to hit certain stretch targets. So I think if we did a better job of explaining to young girls, the fact that you're a girl means that you're going to be looked at hard for these jobs. Here's an opportunity. Now, the fact is we have a lot of jobs. We have more jobs than we have unemployed people. That's not a bad thing. I would disagree on that. That's a testament to the opportunities that we have. That doesn't mean we're struggling. It means we got opportunities. And girls need to understand that those opportunities are even greater for them.
There is some sort of disconnect out there. We saw the young girl at Glasgow say that, she initially thought that science was hard. And, fortunately for her, she had a teacher who is very enthusiastic and excited about science. They had STEM night. And now she's very interested in becoming a nurse. So, yes, Stacey, you want to speak to that?
Very familiar with SWE, great organization. We, I think, partnered with SWE in an outreach with a high school. So we had women engineers from Dow with SWE at a local high school talking to girls. So that way, if the counselor is a barrier, perhaps, or mom is a barrier, perhaps, we're going to create environments where we can still talk about the positives. I think it's real important for our industry partners in the area to have those diversity networks. We have those. We have the African American Network. We have the Women's Innovation Network. And to get those diversity networks out in the community, talking about what they do every day, talking about how they got there, and how does a woman who works shift work at Dow still take care of her 2 small children? Because that's real. And so it's going to take people in the workplace already to talk about those things.
Well, I just wanted to say one of the focus of the program that I mentioned to you earlier is on diversity. I sit on the board of a young woman who's a professor at UCLA, and one of the things that she's shown by research is that diversity is key to learning. Why is that true? Well, it's true because if you're around people who think differently than you do. If you're going to make arguments in terms of whatever field you're in, then you have to be on your toes to be able to make an argument to someone who's very different than you, because otherwise you can't hold your argument. So she's shown by research. So what we've done in our program is focus on diversity. If you look at this population of students right out here, there are as many women as there are men. There is a great diversity in terms of race. There's great diversity in terms of religions. And what we've done is created an environment where they use this diversity to promote the whole field of STEM, and they challenge each other. And these students are performing incredibly well. Mm-hmm. We've had 250 students to come out of this program. Roughly about 43% of them have come out with a 3.7 grade point average or better in the STEM field. We have a graduation rate which is 92%, twice that of any other program in the country and 3 times more than some of the most selected programs. So we're being very effective in including women. We're being very effective in including minorities. The graduation rate for minorities out of our program, for women out of our program, for majority out of our program is 92%. It's exactly the same. So we've eliminated the disparity which you see in many other programs across the country.
You made a very important statement when you said, the young lady said, until she had a teacher that was excited. Mm-hmm. And I just got through having a meeting with some elementary teachers this past week, and we were talking about infusing their day with some STEM, and they froze immediately and they said, I don't know anything about that. And I think we do a great in-service to our students, because at the elementary level, they are so focused on ELA and double blocking math, and there's no real science, engineering, anything taking place at the elementary grades, and they become afraid of it. Their teachers are afraid of it, and it's not their fault because that's not been their focus. I spend a good bit of time collaborating with an engineering colleague, and we do workshops for teachers on how to infuse their curriculum with engineering that's non-threatening, but that excites the students and, empowers them. I think we're going to have to rethink what's going on at the elementary grades so that these kids are not afraid of it, their teachers are not afraid of it, and then they can transition into really doing great STEM stuff. When they get a good teacher that's doing science, not just sitting there defining words and answering questions and doing worksheets, but doing the science, doing engineering, that's when we see things change.
This summer, we're training 800 teachers in advanced placement STEM-focused courses, where they'll go to a week-long institute and they'll learn how to deliver one of these rigorous advanced placement courses. And we talked a little bit about some incentives. Recent legislation was just passed with Senate Bill 202, and what that is doing now is that for students that take advanced coursework in high school, they now get a weighted GPA for those courses in the top scholarship program. So when TOPS is weighting the GPA for their high school courses, they're recognizing these advanced placement and college dual enrollment courses.
All right, thank you. Beth?
Well, I've been anxiously wanting you to come over here because I have an actual chemical engineer standing next to me who works in the schools. And tell us your name and tell us what you're doing.
Hi, my name is Kalpanee, and I'm a recent graduate of chemical engineering from LSU. And while I was at LSU, I was part of the student chapter of the Society of Women Engineers, the SWE, and I was also part of diversity ambassadors for the College of Engineering. As another part of what I did when I was at LSU, I was an ACT tutor. And I realized that when I was trying to show them, a certain math problem and explain to them why they got it wrong, I've noticed that they understood the problem conceptually, and they could tell me, well, I needed to get from here to here, but they lacked the fundamental knowledge. So one of the problems was they couldn't divide fractions, and they couldn't analyze a graph. They knew how to get, they knew they needed to get to a certain point, but they didn't know how to do that. So as leaders in education, what does that say to you, and how do you think that should be solved?
This is what I was referring to earlier, is that we're not doing our jobs at the lower areas. We're not encouraging our students to take those so-called tough courses that are needed in the mathematics area to have the kind of foundation to do exactly what you're talking about. And no matter how much we fool ourselves in Louisiana, we're not doing an adequate job, and that's facts. Not only can I state this, but statistics basically supports what I'm saying. In the Japanese society, the most revered persons are the teachers, sensei. And we need to get to that point here where we pay our teachers what they're worth. We do an excellent job of training science teachers in Louisiana. What happens? They go over to Texas and make 30% more than they make here in Louisiana. We need to pay our teachers, particularly our STEM teachers, because they're a very valuable resource. We need to pay them more of what they're worth, and we keep the best people here in this state and do a better job at the elementary and high school level of getting better teachers.
Well, Ken, we're still having elementary school teachers that don't have to take any advanced math to teach, you know, and isn't that still a problem if we're talking about the STEM curriculum?
And I would like to go back to the scenario that you outlined where, you know, students are coming to LSU and they can't do some of the you know, entry-level freshman math that is there. And I think that goes back to what I was alluding to earlier. You know, in Louisiana right now, there's 3 different diploma pathways. It's very confusing for students, parents, counselors, etc. And so we want to move in the direction where we have one Louisiana diploma with 2 tracks within it. One a career track, and the second one a college track. And then that college track will align with TOPS right now in the rigorous, you know, entrance requirements that there are, because students today can graduate with our Core 4 diploma, which is a college track diploma, yet still not meet the requirements for a TOPS scholarship. So we want to, you know, have that rigor in there. We talked a little bit about incentivizing of the rigor. We're training, you know, 800 teachers this summer in the advanced placement coursework. 150 of those are actually middle school teachers, which will be being trained in pre-advanced placement coursework, but training those teachers, and then these students, when they're incentivized to take this coursework, when they go to get a top scholarship, the courses will be weighted in the GPA and also in the school accountability formula. Students that participate in these rigorous courses, they get extra weights in the formula, and so there's an incentive that's in there for that as well.
Your comments about math, that's not true only for engineers or for chemists or for doctors and research scientists. That's true for pipe fitters. It's true for welders. It's true for the 86,000 industrial construction jobs we need to fill in the next 4 years. That's true across the board. I don't think anybody thinks that everybody's coming out fully prepared. So you're seeing massive amounts of restructuring where people cannot start at a university if they don't have those foundational skills in their core subjects. They have to start at a community or technical college that is a better environment for those kids to get those skills. We have a dropout rate from our universities that is too high, just as from our high schools. And this focus on foundational improvement it's where it all starts. It starts in elementary school. We can't build a person's skill sets if they don't have those. And I think that what we're seeing is a sea change in how we approach that in Louisiana.
Thank you so much. We have a lot of questions.
My name is Judea Goins-Andrews. I work with LSU College of Engineering Office for Diversity Programs, and specifically within my role, I work with the pre-college engineering programs. My own personal background, I'm a graduate in environmental engineering, and I went to practice engineering for 3.5 years. I then went on to be a teacher. So I was a math teacher. One thing I've noticed when we talk about fundamentals, a lot of those times those are schools that are servicing our students that have lower economic status and who are primarily minority servicing schools. And one of my concerns and the question that I pose to the panel is not only how do we increase interest in STEM amongst the students in those schools, but also that once we recruit them into the university, how do we retain them in the university in order for them to be able to ultimately get the degrees that will lead to the job?
I will start, and I'll take it from a high school level because I'm sitting here thinking about 8th graders when they were coming into our new tech school, and they did not have foundational skills, and we realized right away that we were going to have to back up and regroup. But once we held their hand through that first year and they tasted success, they realized that they were going to be able to do something. And I think that's part of the equation. We have got to get them in there and let them realize what they are capable of doing. It's our job as teachers and educational partners and whoever to put the buffet in front of them and say, here are your options, and to think about it. But they've got to understand that they can do it. I think too many of them have gotten too far thinking they're not capable of doing anything. And I'm thinking about student after student in my mind right now that they're on a completely different track now, a completely different path. They are advocates for themselves. They see themselves as successful. They are going places. They will graduate from high school. They're going to post-secondary training. But if they had not had that initial experience of success when they got into that learning environment, I truly believe they wouldn't be there. So I think whether it's at middle grade, high school, university, whatever, if we don't allow them that opportunity to experience that success, to realize what they're capable of, they're not going to make it out.
Well, hello. My name is Alicia Joseph, and I want to speak on behalf of just being in the shoes of a student in high school and someone who is a graduate in biological sciences from Southern University. We've spoken a lot about LSU, BRCC, Louisiana Tech, and their great programs. But personally, I'm a graduate of Southern University who is the #1 graduate of African Americans in engineering and also the #1 nursing program in Louisiana 4 times in a row. We have a program that it's a program between LSU and Southern University that the engineering can get a degree in engineering, chemical engineering, and it's a program between our engineering department and LSU. We don't personally have a chemical engineering department, so the students take classes at LSU and also at Southern, and they can graduate with a degree in chemical engineering.
So what's your question?
My question is, what other partnerships like that can we do between universities so that we can diversify the workforce?
Okay, thank you. Quick question, answer.
Well, let me tell the young lady that I have the same pride that you have. I am also a graduate of Southern University. And were it not for Southern University, I would not be sitting on this stage and have the kind of education that I've had. We have a number of partnerships. For example, the LSAP program also partners with Southern through Dr. Bagioka, where the program is focused. We also have a component of that which is subcontracted from Southern to LSU. And so we have students that are participating in that program out of my office. And so there are a number of other activities that we've been involved with Southern.
Not just partnerships between the four-year universities, but we've been in talks with LSU about partnerships with the community and technical colleges, right? Because if we're training someone at the community and technical college level with a 2-year degree, that person who starts off as an operator, a process technology degree, may want to become an engineer. So how do we use the same learning tools between that 2-year degree university and a 4-year university? And I think that's a gap right now, and we need to get there.
Well, thank you very much. And we've talked a lot about the universities and the collaborations, but one of the things we want to do is to talk to the general public about science, because the whole level of understanding of science is different. I think you have a guest over there that maybe is with...
Well, actually, we have a question about access. So give me your name and tell us who you're with.
My name is Lou Pape. I am the Director of Education for Sci-Port, Louisiana Science Center in Shreveport, Louisiana. And my question goes to resources. I am the collaborative lead for the Louisiana STEM Girls Collaborative project here in the state, which essentially, we know there are these great pockets of things happening all over our state, but nobody knows about each other. And in a nutshell, what we do is have an online resource where we connect those people together and give them ways to leverage resources. We even have mini grants and things. I'm also the Girls Rise Network trainer for, I travel around Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, and all of Louisiana, training informal educators like myself in museums and libraries and science centers on how do we get girls involved in STEM. So I have all these great resources in different venues, from formal to informal. My question is, how do I share those resources? I have many of the resources to help battle some of the things that we're talking about this evening, like getting girls involved in STEM from elementary into middle school, because we know once they get to middle school, they have decided what they're going to do or what they're not good at. So how do I do that?
One of the things that we have on our website is our teacher toolbox, which is full of resources that we've posted to the website. And we have some dedicated pages on our website that address everything from STEM to career and technical education to advanced placement, international baccalaureate. And so if you could share those resources, we'd review them and get those out there, because they sound very, very, like very good resources.
Stacey? I was going to say that as well. Look for a state system like the Department of Ed. I've been to some things that the Workforce Commission's done, and also the Louisiana Community and Technical College System, right? Because that's state systems who bring people from all over the state in one place where you can share that resource and maybe get your information out quicker.
Ken, would he contact you? Would he contact
Yes.
your office? Okay, we'll get you that information. Thank you. Beth?
Well, thank you, and I guess this is one of the roles that we at LPB are trying to do as well, because we have had a wonderful conversation with many of you in this room, and we have so many questions. We're not going to get to everyone, but I think we have one from, are you a teacher?
Well, I'm faculty at the LSU in physics. So my name is Juana Moreno. From my experience with teacher in a program at LSU, La SITMA, that is a collaboration of computational scientists. So I think I want to come back to this discussion that I think the problem with the STEM education is in the teachers, because the teachers are not well recognized, they are not well paid, they don't have the knowledge. I mean, for example, I learned here being in Louisiana that to teach physics, you need just one course in science, not even in physics, one university course in biology. My question is, there is any plan to pay and recognize better the teachers and require that they really have a training appropriate to teach STEM?
You know, we've talked a lot about some of the rigorous high school science courses, and we've alluded to some of the advanced placement trainings that are going on. But I think it's also important to note that the department does have another program called the Course Choice Program. And the Course Choice Program has invited in business and industry to deliver courses through the Course Choice Program that students can take for high school credit. So we've also worked with the Louisiana Community and Technical College. They're part of the Course Choice Program. They're offering courses through Course Choice as well. So it's, you know, there's multiple venues for students to have access to instructors, whether that's an advanced placement instructor or whether that would be an instructor they wanted to take an electrician course, or they wanted to take another STEM-related course, and it's being offered through the Course Choice Program, where there are business and industry providers. As an example, we heard about the Cyber Innovation Center up in Bossier. The Cyber Innovation Center, they offer courses through the Louisiana Course Choice Program. And they're the ones that are delivering the instruction, and they're partnering with school systems, and they're providing access to students.
She's hitting to the heart of the problem. Exactly what I've been saying is that we need to pay our teachers more. If we pay our teachers more, we keep the best teachers here in this state in the STEM field, and that's the bottom line.
When you add art to STEM, what do you get?
When you add the A in arts to STEM, you get STEAM, and as I'm sure our panelists know, there's a national effort to add that A from STEM to STEAM. I'm Bryan Dassler. I'm with the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts. We're Louisiana's arts conservatory for high school students. Corporations like Chevron have invested heavily in the work of NOCA in preparing young artists and intellectuals for the jobs in STEM, in STEAM, and beyond. And I'm wondering if there are some of our panelists who would mind commenting on the importance of that A in STEM to STEAM and how you see it benefiting folks in the workforce and beyond.
I think it's a good sign. We see lots of heads shaking, nodding.
I just wrote a column on that at home. I did. I just wrote a column on that because being a STEM advocate, I know people probably get sick of me going on about that. And so I talked about the STEAM in Ruston. Even though it's a small community, it's very rich in its cultural heritage. And so we have a lot of artists, and I believe in brain-based learning and the whole student. And so I think it can't be left out. And I think when we infuse STEM with the A and make it STEAM, kids more naturally connect to it because it services their whole brain as well. So you have my 110% support there.
I think the key thing that we have to recognize is what makes Louisiana a great place to live. It wouldn't be the great place without that A.
That's right.
Today I was interviewed by a radio station about a list that just came out in a business magazine that ranked Baton Rouge 5th in the country and New Orleans 7th in the country as being great places for young single people who are broke to get a start in life. You could, I think they were saying, find a job, find love, and find cheap entertainment. And now the A goes well beyond that. But the A is a key component of the quality of life that we have in Louisiana. Before I said we have we have to produce people for more than STEM jobs. There's a lot more to the fabric of a vibrant community than what we've been talking about tonight. We don't have those vibrant communities without what we're talking about tonight, and we don't have it without that other component. So if you look at Louisiana Star Jobs, for instance, the system that ranks the value of all of our occupations by how many opportunities there are and what they pay. 92% of STEM jobs are 3, 4, and 5 stars in that. They're high-value occupations. A bunch of the other high-value occupations come from that A. They're within that A. And we're nothing if we don't produce people for that, too.
And just to piggyback on that, in the technology field with movie making, what it is in our state, that's a huge part of our economic development. And we're focusing on that in our new tech schools so that our kids have those technical skills, but you have to be artistic and able to accomplish the best of that as well. So that naturally fits into it.
I'm so glad we got that in. Thank you so much. Thank you. Beth?
Well, I think we have so many wonderful questions, but that's all the time we have for this evening. But before we have some closing comments, I'd like to have us all take a look at somebody who actually did major in a STEM field and who would like to say a little something to us.
Hello, I'm Supriya Jindal, and I want to thank you for raising awareness about such an important issue. As a chemical engineer and a mom of young students, this is a cause I hold close to my heart. As worldwide demand for scientists and engineers grows at a rapid pace, studies show that students in America rank low in basic science and math proficiency. To prepare our children for the rewarding and high-paying jobs of the 21st century, we need to come together and commit to making a difference in education. It is my hope that through the hard work of educators and with the support of individuals and companies, our classrooms will foster an innovative and enriching learning environment that allows our students to thrive and surpass not only other states, but other countries.
Well, what a great comment from the First Lady, but I want certainly to thank our audience, and I want to thank our panelists this evening, Mr. Bradford, Ms. Chiasson, Dr. Warner, Ms. Boniel, and Mr. Ising. We've just begun this conversation, and I hope that this evening we've had so many pockets of excellence around the state and new information, frankly, that I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah, what great discussion. Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you to our audience members. You were fantastic. We also want to say a special thank you to the community of Plaquemine and especially the Iberville Parish School System for supplying this incredible venue. It is absolutely gorgeous. And we encourage you to go to our website and visit lpb.org/public square to view additional video content and to comment on tonight's show. We would absolutely love to hear from you.
Well, good night, everyone, and thank you again to all of you.
Thank you.
For a copy of this program, call 1-800-973-7246 or go online to www.lpb.org. This program was made possible in part by funding from the Dow Chemical Company Foundation, a proud supporter of quality education across Louisiana in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting.